What's up, Wizards fans? It's Dylan here with Brendan Smith, and we're just here to answer some questions, talk about the Wizards game. Another win. We're 3-0.
What's up, Wizards fans? It's
We're leading
Dylan here with
and,
Brendan Smith.
and right now it looks we're finals bound. So we can just hope to keep up with that. Brandon, can I get your take on the game?
Yeah, I just got done watching it like everyone else. It was another Wizards game. It was another game where they played the opponent really tight, and they had several chances to put it away, and they just couldn't make shots, or they couldn't get stopped. So even though it's 3-0, I mean, this team could very easily be 0-3, 2-1, 1-2, whatever you want to call it. I mean, like a 5-point victory over Philly and a 4-point victory over Detroit, or vice versa. I can't remember which one it was, and then obviously the small margin of victory tonight. It's not looking good. The defense is still really bad, but I think overall it's a good sign that they show up when it matters late in games. Ideally, you would like to see them put these games away a little bit earlier, but 3-0 is good. First time since 2005. All thumbs up.
I mean, we'll take it for sure, but we are focused on getting over that playoff hump and finally getting ourselves past the Eastern Conference semis and hopefully beat the DC Curse again, the conference finals. We just can't have it. Can't keep having it going on where it'll eventually go back to bite us and potentially hurt us down the road. Some good performances from John Wall, continued great performance from Otto Porter. Really surprised and making, Brendan and I were talking earlier today, Otto's really making the Wizards look good about not making that Paul George trade. I mean, George would have helped us a lot, but keeping Otto was certainly something that looks like right now, at least, it was the right decision to make.
Yeah, I think that when you looked at the Paul George trade, I mean, obviously people look back and they'll say, oh, well, Otto Porter is better than Victor Oladipo and Sabonis and the pick, whatever you want to call it. And I agree with that. But if you think of it from a Wizards perspective, say the Wizards had gotten Paul George, well, number one, Porter would have had to agree to a sign and trade. And why would he do that when he could just agree to sign an offer sheet with any team he would have wanted to? So you got to think about that as well. But say he had agreed and the trade had gone down or whatever, there's no guarantee that Paul George agrees to re-sign. And then, I mean, if he does want to re-sign, then that's money you have to give him, and that also doesn't leave money on the table for a guy like maybe, say, Cousins. And it's going to be hard for the Wizards to come around with that money this summer for Cousins anyway, as it is, and to add pieces for the bench going forward. But Porter plays well with Wall and Beal. He fits in. He doesn't demand the ball a whole lot, but when he gets the opportunities, he shines and he's efficient. And that's exactly the piece that the Wizards need next to John Wall and Bradley Beal going forward.
Well, you talk about the potential of getting Cousins or even any other superstar potentially on the market, but having our, Wall, Beal, Otto, it's really going forward, it's going to be those three. And either those guys are going to work out or it's kind of going to fall off because we don't have much wiggle room as far as cap space or anything like that. So as far as our roster now, you're going to have to – it's going to be kind of have to be like how people – I don't want to compare our team to LeBron James. That's not at all what I'm doing. But we're going to have to win by building with people wanting to come to DC to play with Wall, to play with Beal, hopefully play with Otto when he becomes one of the league's best small forwards as long as he continues this development. But as far as free agent signings, unless we find a team that's willing to take on our pieces, it's going to be hard to go that route. So we're going to have to, hopefully keep our draft pick, not trade it away, be able to maintain this work that we've been building, and hopefully find some smaller pieces, maybe some veterans looking for a ring or anything like that to join us in that fashion.
Yeah, I know a lot of people give Ernie crap for trading away the first round pick, and I get that, and I get it to an extent, because essentially you're trading guys for rentals. Now, I do agree with him trading the first round picks. I'm just not totally okay with what we get back. Like, for example, we got Bogdanovich last year. Is he better than what that pick is going to turn out to be? I mean, probably. And The problem I have with it, though, is he's only here for a year and then he leaves. And we weren't in a situation where we were going to be able to re-sign him this summer anyway. We knew he wasn't going to re-sign for that money. He's been taking low money for a long time with Brooklyn and Washington. So we knew he was going to go out there and kind of cash out. Ideally, if you're going to deal away that first round pick, you want to bring in a player that maybe has another year on his contract or maybe has like a player team option, something to that nature on his contract after the current season is up. So while I understand why many fans are frustrated that like we keep dealing away the first round picks, you also have to understand that the Wizards are a team that want to win now. John Wall is 27, going to be going on 28 this year. So he's not going to be in his prime for much longer going based on his athletic ability and having to use that. And we know Beal and Otto are still young, but this is a team that wants to win now, and LeBron's door is closing slowly but surely. Cleveland is not looking that good this year. They still struggle on defense. Are they still the favorites in the Eastern Conference? Absolutely. But this is still a team that wants to win now. Obviously, they're 3-0 right now, and you still want to be able to get those pieces that add to your bench. So I think if it comes to a point down the line where the Wizards have to do that and give away another first-round pick, I'm okay with it. I would just like to see players come back in the trade that maybe have an option in their deal or at least another guaranteed year on their contract.
Do you see the Wizards making a move similar to the Bogdanovich trade last year? Do you think they keep this roster more, or do they even have to go after a bigger piece like DeMarcus Cousins somehow in the trade market, or even Bledsoe? Wanting out of Phoenix. Do we maybe find a way to wiggle ourselves in that conversation and steal somebody that Phoenix may be desperate to move?
I think that if you're any NBA team and any time a player with Eric Bledsoe's talent says that he wants out and claims he doesn't want to be there, I think it's foolish not to call. I think if you're any team, especially if you're looking to win. In the Wizards case, though, it was the same case as it was this last summer and as it was last year. They have no movable assets that are, decent. I mean, you really can't move Gortat. And I know a lot of people want to move Gortat, and it says contract very favorable, yes. But the fact is that Gortat's offense is still very, very important to this team. I mean, you're talking about the go-to offense for the Wizards is a Wall and Gortat pick and roll, and that is something they do so well. You cannot move Gortat just that simple and put Mahinmi in the starting lineup and say, oh, hey, nothing bad happened. You can't do that. And you can't move Mahinmi because his contract's too big. He's a little injury prone. He actually got a little banged up tonight. He came back in, though, and finished the game. I think it was just a little banger. He's all right, though. He's all right. But you can't move him. No one's going to want Tim Fraser right now. The only really movable piece they have on their team right now that they'd be willing to move is probably Satoransky. But that's not going to get you a lot of return, so I don't think that a move is possible for Bledsoe.
Yeah, unless the market's low like it was for Paul George or anything like that.
That still makes me mad. They just pretty much gave him away for nothing. That was terrible.
We could have made – it's hard to look at – we shouldn't look in the past, but we could have made these moves where we'd be the people that people would be looking like, oh, that's the new team on the market. That's the team that's going to be there this year. But situations like that are going to happen this season, and they're going to continue to happen. So it's just a matter of us finding the right situation and capitalizing on it and, getting something good for a little. And hopefully that'll eventually be able to put us over the hump into the conference finals. And then let's hope we can eventually get the NBA finals because, that's all we're working for. That's all we can really hope for and continue to strive for. But now I told the followers here on Wizards Talk that we were going to talk about John Wall MVP. Can I get your thoughts on, where Wall is in that conversation for you personally and what you think his odds are of winning it?
Okay, well, I've been saying this for a while now, and this was my total non-biased take. And I looked at every elite player, and I said, okay, are they looking to have a breakout year? Are they playing with other superstars? How is their team going to look? How are they going to finish in standings? I considered all that. And my top two right now, I did have Wall at number one. And my number two was Giannis. And it looks like Giannis so far is outplaying him for that. And again, it's 3 games in the season. I mean, this can completely change. I do think it's very possible, but do I think this will be the year that he does it? I don't think so. I still think there's too many talented players in the league. You still have Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Giannis, like I said. So it's going to be very hard for him to do it. And I think it's very possible. But I think when you look at the collective talent, and so far this is only a sneak peek of what Giannis is going to do this year, I think that Giannis is my high favorite right now.
For sure. I mean, if the season ended today, he'd run away with it. No doubt.
Yeah.
He's averaging, 40 points? Just dominating. You can't guard the dude. I'm scared for when the Wizards have to play the Bucks. I don't know what we're going to run. Otto's long, and he'll be able to play a little defense, but
they'll put Keith on him.
The dude got it at the free throw line, one free throw line, took one dribble in the last game and just scored a layup. It's insane, just his length and his ability. It's truly something great that we're watching right now. And Wall be in the conversation. I think just what Wall brings to his team. You always talk, any other year he'd win it. But we say that every year about one player or another. So I don't know if he'd win it every other year, but certainly when you have a guy like Giannis, it's hard to put Wall in as the guy saying he's going to win it. But you never know. I agree. Right now, Wall's probably 2 behind Giannis, and we'll see if he's able to keep it up. And maybe Giannis suffers an injury, or the Bucks just find the losing bug and can't find a way to win. So as long as Wall keeps it up, he's going to be in the conversation. Then it's really going to come down to the stretch if something happens. Maybe the Bucks somehow miss the playoffs, and that's not a good look. Just there are a ton of possibilities for what could happen.
Yeah, I don't think the Bucks are going to be missing the playoffs, though. I think if that happens, every player on their team probably has gotten injured at some point. There's no way that the Bucks don't make the playoffs.
The Bucks are too, but you just have to think about something happens that prevents them from
I see you.
making the playoffs, like an injury, a big injury, multiple injuries. Giannis getting injured. So right now, Giannis is probably the runaway favorite, but Wall's going to be in a conversation, and he'll receive votes. Now, what about moving forward? What are your thoughts on the rotation, and maybe who should be getting some more minutes, and who's playing too much, and what Coach Brooks should do with the squad going on?
Actually, I like the lineup right now. I have no complaints as far as the rotation goes. So far, the leader in minutes has been Otto Porter this year. I think tonight he was probably about 4th or 5th in minutes. I think tonight was Kelly Oubre the leader in minutes, but the previous 2 games was Otto Porter. They're trying to keep Wall and Beal around that 35-minute mark, which is something that I know they want to do. And if you notice, Brooks will wait an extra maybe about 45 seconds to a minute before putting Beal and Wall back in the second quarter and in the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter tonight, he did it a little bit earlier, but that was because Denver was keeping it so close. But they've been trying to bring them back in about 7-minute mark and some change in both the second and fourth quarters. And I think that's something that's going to pay off down the line. Just my thing is Tim Frazier going to be able to hold up. Tim Frazier, in my opinion, he had some good moments tonight. He had some good moments in the preseason, but he's not very good to me at all. I'm not a Tim Frazier fan. And Jody Meeks is always a solid player. I think he plays very well on both ends. And he's a guy that draws fouls and gets to the line, so I like Jody Meeks. Jan Mahimi, I would like to see get a little bit more minutes, but again, when you have Gortat in there with Wall, that's almost an automatic bucket if you do the pick and roll every time. And if you collapse on Gortat, then that leaves the strong or weak side shooters open, and Porter, Beal, Oubre, who's hitting shots consistently this year. Like I said, Meeks, Mike Scott can hit the shot. So, like I said, I would like to see Jan Mahimi get a little bit more minutes, but I think with how valuable the pick and roll is with Wall and Gortat, it's hard for him. or for Scott Brooks to fit Jan Mahimi in above the 20-minute mark. I think he was probably at maybe like 16 or 17 tonight.
Now, you mentioned Mike Scott. I mean, let's talk about him for a second. What a great underrated pickup, of the –
Absolutely. He was my pickup of the offseason.
Yeah, we got a steal out of him. Nobody really talks about him enough. He's hitting the three, very important in this game currently. He's a playmaker, and he's with guys like Wall and Beal and Porter in the lineup. If he's able to continue to just kind of hide behind them when the defense focuses on our main guys, and he's able to just hit an open three, he's going to knock it down every time, as shown in our 3-0 start.
Yeah, Mike Scott was definitely my pickup of the offseason, and I know that probably doesn't say much. I mean, when your 3 offseason pickups are Tim Frazier, Jody Meeks, and Scott, but this was a guy who played really well for the Atlanta Hawks. I remember all those games, watching the Wizards play the Hawks or any Hawks games in the playoffs, and Mike Scott would absolutely kill opponents. He would change games, either with emphatic dunks or making the three-point player, and even just his ball movement and just his IQ is good. And now what we're seeing a little bit this year from Mike Scott is his ability to score in the post a little bit more. He takes advantage of when those small guards are on him, and that's something I like. And earlier he had a nice step-back jumper. It looks real smooth. Very versatile player. I think can play the 5 if he wanted to, but Brooks tries to keep him at the 4. But I like Mike Scott. He played probably about the same as Jan Mahimi tonight, but he's a guy that I could easily see getting up to like the high teens and early 20s going forward. I mean, he plays really well with Wall and Beal, and he's exactly what the Wizards needed. And they got him at a low price. I mean, it's a win-win.
For sure. We're going to have to keep finding these guys that we can bring on to build around our core, because our core is our core. It's going to stay our core. Nothing's changing about that. Wall and Beal love each other, and no matter what people say, those two are going to be in DC the rest of their careers, we hope. So we're just going to have to keep finding these cheap pieces like Scott they're going to overperform, and we'll continue to do their roles, and we'll be able to help us get to where we want to be. I guess we'll be wrapping up here pretty soon, but one of the last questions I do want to ask you is, this early into the season, what's your season outlook? What do you think our record is going to be? Where do you think we go in the playoffs? Bold prediction, normal prediction. What are your thoughts?
I don't like predicting records. I do think when you consider Gordon Hayward going down,
you think we get to 50 wins?
Yes. I think we get to 50, and I think there's even a chance that they could probably get him between 53 and 55. I know that may be a little bit of a bold statement, but I mean, when you look around the East, I mean, Toronto doesn't give Washington any problems. Milwaukee is a team that does give Washington problems, but Washington is still, I think, a better team than Milwaukee. Miami gives them some problems. That's just because of the shooting. Cleveland, but Washington always seems to play well against Cleveland, and then the rest of the East doesn't give Washington any problems. And as we've seen it, if the Wizards can take advantage against some of these, mid-tier Western Conference teams, and I think that's something that this team has not been good at in the John Wall era, is beating some of these lower mid-tier Western Conference teams. If they can just do that, I think they can easily find themselves in between 53 and 55 wins. As far as the playoffs go, I think this is the year they do get to the Eastern Conference Finals again. Maybe if Gordon Hayward were still there, even though I'd still like the Wizards on paper, I think it'd still be a situation where the Wizards wizard in the playoffs, and they show flashes and they have those moments where they still don't pull through. But I think that without Gordon Hayward, Kyrie Irving doesn't really give John Wall a whole lot of fits. I like the matchup there, and Toronto will never beat Washington in the playoff series again. So I think this is the year that they get to the conference finals.
I'm gonna have to agree with you on over 50 wins. I see us getting maybe even around that 54 mark. Definitely 52. And as far as season outlook, I gotta agree with you. I think this is the year the Wizards are going to be the team to break the DC curse. I was so happy when the Nats lost, just because I want the Wizards to be that team that finally is the team after all these years that finally gets us into the conference finals. And I think the Wizards are going to do that. I think we can power through Boston. I don't think Boston's roster is as good as it was previously.
No, I agree.
I know they got Kyrie. I know they got Gordon Hayward. But there's something about Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder and just the roster that they had that just won. And you know what? I personally don't like Jay Crowder just because he killed the Wizards. But honestly, I'd love to have him on our team. Just the energy that guy gives, he would be a great asset with us. Definitely somebody that I wish we could add to our roster. Cleveland, let's just hope that we're able to avoid Cleveland through the finals like we did last year. If we could lock up that 2 seed, especially with Hayward's injury, being able to earn that 2 seed would help us to avoid Cleveland until then, and then maybe take it to 6 games with Cleveland, maybe even 7 if we could hit a shot like Wall. But for now, let's just focus on getting there and be thankful for the opportunity that right now that people are talking about us. We've got a shot to potentially get there. And I think this is going to be the year that we're going to capitalize on it.
Yeah, I think so too. Again, I don't even think it's so much saying that like the Wizards are this good, and I mean they're a good team and they have some solid pieces for sure. But I think it's just more about just how weak the Eastern Conference is, and I mean the Cavs are still the clear favorite. I would never pick the Wizards to beat the Cavs in a series, but just the rest of the East. How do you not put Washington above Toronto, Boston, Milwaukee? I mean, if you don't, you're very foolish. I know that Milwaukee's 3-1. They just beat Charlotte earlier, but again, they're not better than Washington. They may be a matchup problem for Washington, but they're not better than Washington. I think it was the same issue last year with Boston. Boston was not better than Washington. They were a matchup problem.
We beat Milwaukee in a 7-game series, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah,
they don't win the series.
Yeah, and I mean, and to cap things off, the Raptors lost to the Spurs earlier, so the Wizards are the only remaining undefeated team in the Eastern Conference.
That's pretty exciting. Hey, we'll take that, and we'll ride that along through the rest of the season. And let's just hope we can keep it up. Hopefully, find ourselves in a good position to make a run at the finals. But for now, we're just going to be thankful, and we're going to try to get those conference finals to get over that next hump, and then hopefully we can make it to the finals. But for now, let's just focus on those conference finals. Let's get over the hump, and let's make some DC history. So thank you, Brendan, for joining me today, and everybody, keep up with our channel and make sure to keep following with us because we're going to try to do some more videos, especially after games and from the season. So keep up with us. Keep posting on WizardsTalk and go Wizards.